The sound that ended it all wasn't a word or a scream. It was the crack of steel against steel, my gate shaking like it was about to fall off its hinges, followed by the screech of a luxury SUV nosediving into the barricade I'd built. Smoke poured from the hood. Neighbors peeked out from behind their curtains, and there she stood, Mara Penrose, president of our HOA, the self-appointed queen of Lake Alder Commons, staring at her wrecked car in my driveway. That's when I knew the battle for my own front gate had turned into war. I'm not the kind of guy who picks fights with neighbors. I like my coffee hot, my mornings quiet, my dog Daisy asleep at my feet. But it all changed the first time Mara swung open my gate like it was her personal shortcut. 6 a.m., coffee still steaming in my hand, and there she was, yoga mat under her arm, expression like she was born to complain to a manager. She popped the latch, let the iron clang echo across the block, and strutted straight through my driveway without so much as a glance. I told myself it was a one-off. Maybe she was late for spin class. But when the same clang split the morning again the next day and the day after that, it stopped being a coincidence. It became a ritual. Her ritual, my headache. You ever get a sound stuck in your life so sharp it drills under your skin? That was my gate. Daisy even started pacing by the window 5 minutes before 6, like she didn't want to miss the show. And the neighbors. They saw it, trust me. The Reynolds across the street did that tight-lipped, don't-get-involved look, the universal HOA survival face. That's the unspoken rule in neighborhoods like ours. Keep your lawn green, your mailbox painted, and your head down when the HOA president decides the rules don't apply to her. Morning 4. I finally stepped out barefoot on the driveway, coffee in hand. "You really should fix this gate," Mara said, shoving it harder as it screeched against the latch. "It sticks." "It sticks because you slam it every morning," I said. Didn't matter. She kept walking, didn't even slow down. That's when I realized yelling would be useless. With people like Mara, volume is a weapon they use against you. Raise your voice, and suddenly you're the one guilty of harassment. No, if this was going to be a fight, I'd have to fight smarter. I dug out the HOA handbook from the pantry shelf, a brick of paper as thick as a phone book. I found the line I needed. Community access refers to sidewalks, park trails, easements maintained by the association. Nowhere did it say cutting across my private driveway was allowed. I circled it in red because sometimes you need proof that reality still has corners. By the end of the week, it wasn't just noise anymore, it was damage. I had the gate open to unload lumber from my truck one Saturday morning. Mara came striding through like she was on mile 6 of a marathon, yanked the gate and slammed it right into the side of my truck. The metal screamed a dent fresh and ugly, and she looked at me with that sniff, that little smirk, and said, "You really shouldn't park so close to the gate. Poor planning." Then she kept walking. That was the moment something inside me snapped. That night I went to work. I didn't tear the gate out, just added a spring to the latch, a small adjustment but enough to bite back when she yanked. The next morning I watched from the window. She grabbed, pulled, grunted, yanked harder, and the spring kicked. She stumbled forward, almost dropped, her matte cheeks flaring red. She looked around, humiliated, and sped up her pace. Daisy sneezed. I sipped my coffee, and for a second I thought maybe that was the end of it. But small victories only make people like Mara hungrier. 3 days later, before dawn, I heard an engine idling where it didn't belong. My gate flew wide, and her silver Lexus nosed straight into my driveway like it was a public road. Pajama pants, work boots. I ran out with my hands up. "Mara, are you kidding me? This isn't a road." She rolled her window down an inch, sunglasses on before sunrise. "It's easier this way," she said. "You should be thanking me. Fewer footprints on your grass." Then she rolled across my driveway, leaving 2 black arcs on the concrete like signatures. That's when I mounted the hidden motion cam, the kind so small it looked like a screw head. Evidence is quieter than yelling. But I also went with steel-installed 2 heavy gray bollards just inside the gate. Removable for me, immovable for her. The next morning she didn't even slow down. Her Lexus kissed the post, then committed. The sound was brutal, plastic shattering metal, bending steam hissing like a kettle. She stumbled out, mascara running wide-eyed. For once she had no lecture ready. "Looks like the gate's stuck again," I said, voice dripping with sarcasm. She sputtered, pointed, "You'll pay for this." I tipped my mug toward the tiny camera above the hinge. I was about to say the same thing. Tow truck hauled her car off like a defeated parade float. The Reynolds gave me a discreet wave, the kind you give when you've been rooting for someone all along. But I didn't mistake a wrecked car for victory. Mara didn't forgive, she collected grudges. 2 days later, a letter came by certified mail, HOA logo, stamped like a scout badge, accusing me of creating hazardous obstructions at a shared access point. No signature, no board member name, just the HOA, which meant Mara. I didn't bother fighting the letter. I sent the video straight to her insurance company. Liability has a way of biting harder than bylaws. For a moment I thought I'd won. But the next morning the bollards were gone. Not knocked over, gone unscrewed in the night. Tire tracks across my driveway. She'd stolen them bold as daylight. I knocked on her door, phone recording. She opened with a smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Your little roadblocks were dangerous for children. I did the neighborly thing and had them removed." "You mean you stole them?" "Community safety comes first," she sang and closed the door. That was the day I went stronger. Retractable bollards, the kind that live underground and rise up with a key. I poured concrete, set the hardware, built a spine into my driveway. The next morning I sat on the porch, Daisy by my side, coffee in hand, waiting. She rolled up, frowned, pushed forward. I turned the key, and the posts rose with a satisfying thunk. She slammed her brakes, head jerking forward. "This is illegal," she shouted. "So is driving through someone's yard," I said. She peeled away, frustrated. But Mara wasn't done. She called an emergency HOA meeting less than 24 hours' notice. Flyers stuffed into mailboxes with words like hazardous and children bolded. The community center reeked of carpet cleaner and burnt coffee. Mara stood front and center, blazer crisp, voice smooth. "One rogue homeowner is endangering us all," she declared. Folks clapped. "It's easier than thinking." When the floor opened, I didn't give a speech. I dimmed the lights, plugged in a USB, and let the screen play witness. Gate slams, dented truck. Lexus crumpled against steel, steam rising like punctuation. The room went quiet in a whole new way. People shifted in their seats, embarrassed. Mara stammered the magic words of every liar caught on tape. "It's out of context." But everyone knew the context was clear. Her authority leaked out of the room like air from a balloon. You'd think that would end it. It didn't. For the next 2 weeks, I got anonymous letters calling me unfriendly trash cans tipped over a rock, thunked against my porch at night. A small posse from the HOA showed up with clipboards parroting Mara's line that my bollards were hazardous obstructions. I told them they'd meet someone in a robe if they pushed it further. Mara even took it to the county claiming unpermitted structures. The inspector came out, frowned, tapped one bollard with his boot, chuckled. "Seen worse porches. They retract. Gray area at worst." He warned me the HOA could still make paperwork annoying. I handed him a coffee and thanked him. Always be kind to the people who can sign things that affect your week. But I'll admit there was a moment where I almost gave in. Late one night, staring at that letter, listening to Daisy snore, I wondered if it was worth it. Was I the stubborn neighbor? Was I dragging the whole street into a feud just because I hated the sound of a gate? Maybe I should just take them out, keep my head down, and let Mara have her shortcut. Maybe peace was worth the surrender. Then I looked at the dent in my truck, at the tire marks across my driveway, at Daisy, twitching in her sleep like even she dreamed of gates slamming. And I remembered Mara's smirk, her voice dripping with entitlement. That's when I knew giving up wasn't peace, it was permission, and I wasn't about to hand her that. So I knocked on doors. Not with anger, just with the truth. I showed neighbors the still frames, apologized for the drama bleeding into their mornings. And one by one they opened up. Stories spilled, Mara citing kids for leaving scooters out, sending warnings about flower beds, measuring cars with tape at curbs. Fear had turned into habit into culture. And all it took to break it was someone refusing to flinch. We gathered signatures for a recall, enough to make it real. The night of the vote, the folding chairs were full. Mara tried to wear confidence, but you can't pour cement over a cracked foundation. I didn't speak. I didn't have to. The USB did. Clip after clip, timestamp after timestamp. Hands went up, even some of her loyal nodders shifting uncomfortably before raising theirs. And then it was done. She lost her seat. Her smile didn't crack. It vanished like someone had pulled the plug on a neon sign. 2 nights later, Daisy went wild at the window. I found Mara at my gate with a crowbar, jamming it into the latch like she was cracking a safe. I filmed called Sheriff Wade Collier. By the time the blue lights painted the fence, she was panting, the crowbar clattered to the ground. They cuffed her gently, the way you cuff someone you used to see at holiday parades. She came home to a neighborhood that didn't wave. But she wasn't done, not yet. Anonymous complaints stacked up. One night the camera caught her sprinkling salt across my lawn, a thin white scar in the grass. That one crossed a line. I handed the footage to Collier, and this time it came back as criminal mischief. Papers served on her porch neighbors watching from behind curtains. Her last move was a lawsuit nonsense printed on expensive paper. Harassment, defamation, emotional distress. Even a hint that I had something to do with a shed fire in her yard. My attorney, Lionel, patient as ever, didn't bother with theatrics. He gave the judge the record clips, letters, reports, the crowbar, the salt, the dent, the radiator hiss. It didn't take long. The judge looked at her, looked at me, and said words that reset a room. This is not harassment. This is documentation. Case dismissed. Fees awarded. The gavel dropped like release. Within a month, a for sale sign sprouted in her yard. She was gone before spring. And me. I still opened my gate gently. Now 2 fingers, a quiet click. The mornings are mine again. Birdsong, coffee steam. Daisy sighing in the sun. I don't miss the drama. I don't miss the clang. Because the lesson is simple. Peace doesn't come from surrendering your ground. It comes from standing it.